Hey, Dr. Frank, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Paul. Good to be back again.
And we've previous episodes talked about how we can have an effective online presence and an excellent website. And you get to going and then the episode's over. So we still have a lot more to talk about. And today I want to kind of dive deeper in how we can make our website more persuasive.
That's right, Paul. Everybody wants their website that reflects who they are and what their business is about. They want it to be effective, obviously, so that the phone rings and the emails come in and they start contacting you, the people that you'd like to have as your customer. And to be effective, you really need to be persuasive. That's a key element. And we've talked before on your show, Paul, about things you need to have on your website. But the things we're going to talk about today, like you said, digging a little deeper and going into some more things that we haven't mentioned before.
Cool. Well, I look forward, as always, Dr. Frank, to learn more about this. And I've been renovating my website behind the scenes. You've been helping me and putting a lot of work into that. So I'm like double dipping on these shows because I'm learning in real time as I'm actually applying this.
Yeah, that's good, Paul, because then the show has more of the right questions and all, because you're thinking in the right mode that probably your audience is thinking as well. Some $1 million tips about making your website more effective, more persuasive is, first of all, you got to realize that basically there's two kinds of customers or buyers out there. There, you can categorize them in many different ways, but the way that I like to categorize it, and based on a lot of research in marketing research that's been done by others, is there's the relational buyer and there's the transactional buyer. And if you had to put down two broad categories, there's really those two broad categories of people that will be coming to your website, and you really need to address what they're looking for to make your website effective. And so that's going to be two different types of elements of things that you want to have on your website. For the relational buyer, what they're really interested in more than anything is to get a good feeling about you and your company. They want to get the warm and fuzzies. They want to look through your website and peruse it and get a sense of who you are, what your company is about, what you guys stand for as a company, what kind of service you would provide and how you might interact with them. And they want to get a good feeling. And that's all they need. The other type of buyer is the transactional buyer. And he doesn't care so much about the feelings that he gets. Yeah, he wants to feel good, but what's more important to that buyer when they come to your website to want to call and say, I want to learn more. I want to get an estimate on my yard. I'm interested in you guys. That transactional buyer is really more interested in the facts more than the feelings. And what they're concerned about is that if they take you on as a service provider, you're going to bring the value. You're established, you're reliable, and you're going to be there and follow through in a quality manner. They're looking for value more than they're looking for feelings. So what that means, Paul, is with those two different types of people that are going to be coming to your website, because they searched the search engines. They went on Google and they're looking for lawn care or landscaping. So they're very interested. They just want to find the right person that's a good match for them. Those are the two kinds of people you're trying to match. So did you ever see that just talking with people? I mean, you talked to so many customers over the years and potential customers in your business. And did you ever categorize them? Do you think that makes sense from your experience? I
Oh,
know it
yeah.
makes
It makes complete sense. I've never really categorized it that way or thought about it like that, but it makes sense. So, my question to you, Dr. Frank, is with that in mind that you have a relational buyer, you have a transactional buyer, how do we make the website persuasive to get sales from both the relational buyer and the transactional buyer?
Yeah, well, that's the key question, Paul. So for the relational buyer, you want to make them feel good. So you got to have a lot of information about yourself as the business owner, pictures, the kinds of things we've already talked about on your about page, where you talk about how long you've been in business, the story about how you got in business, why you're in business, what you like about doing the work that you do, what you like about your customers, things that are true that give them a window into why you do what you do and what your values system is that you you run your business by. They want to get a good feeling that I like this guy. I'm going to call him. I'm going to find out about possibly getting their service. You're trying to foster that kind of a feeling. So they want to get to know you. If you're at a social event and you're trying to meet people, that's what you do. You tell them things that are interesting. Well, certainly you ask about them. You can't do that on the website, but you do have to share about yourself, and you can do that on the website. And you do it in a way that reveals who you are and why you do what you do, and they get a sense of what you're all about. You should also have, like we talked about, pictures of yourself, your trucks, action shots, providing the service on people's lawns, and that kind of thing. That makes them feel good if they get to know you. Now, the transactional buyer, that's different. They want to find out how long you've been in business. They want to know the facts. They want to know how long you've been doing what you do, how big your company is. Has it been growing or shrinking? Interesting stories of that show credibility or imply credibility. For example, if your company is sponsoring a little league baseball team in town, or sponsoring something in the high school like the marching band, or some kind of donation thing where they promote the company because your company donated some money to the cause that's of community interest. They want to know that. It just shows that you're a good citizen, and you're an established company. You're not a fly by night. You're there to add value to the community and stay in business in the long haul. Those kinds of things. What kinds of things have you seen that you like to talk about in your business that appeals to the feel-good mind, the relational mind, and then the transactional mind?
Well, Dr. Frank, I think reverse engineering. I was just listening yesterday to, and I don't know the guy's name. There's a podcast. I think it's called like Kosher Money. It's Jewish guys, and they're talking about why Jewish folks are so successful in business. And the guy they were interviewing used to work for Fidelity, and he was managing billions of dollars with a B in this fund. And the question they asked him, they said, how do you land these high profile jobs when you're getting interviewed at a, place like Fidelity or wherever you're getting interviewed, and you got to go and you got to sit in front of people. And he says the very, very first most important thing is you have to get them to like you. It's not you bragging about how you went to Harvard or Yale or got, more degrees in a thermometer and all these accomplishments. All that can come later, but your goal in that high profile interview is you need to get them to like you in as fast as amount of time possible. And so I think as I'm kind of restructuring my website and trying, everything you've been teaching me, trying to take it to the next level, when you're in an in-person interview or even virtual Zoom interview or things like that, you really have the opportunity with your mouth and your body language and different ways to get the person to like you. But when it's a website, I'm just trying to think, how can I design this thing so the relational buyer, the transactional buyer is like, man, I like Paul Jamison. I like Paul. I trust this guy. I feel comfortable and confident to hit buy or hit learn more, hit whatever the call to action might be. Ultimately, that's our goal. We're trying to persuade them to hit the call to action button, whatever the call to action is for your website. So in process, I don't have the experience to say, oh, this is what I've found works. But I think the faster we can get them to go on the website and be like, I like these guys, the better. Whereas I can share an example of the negative of that. The reciprocal of that is where I've been on websites in my old website where you get on it, you're like, oh, did a kindergartner make this? Or it just shouts untrustworthy and run, like this is sketchy. So I think aesthetically having it look credible and then actually providing reasons why people should like you.
Well, Paul, we all like to do business with people that we like. We'll even pay more money up to a point to transact with the people that we like for goods and services. I think if we had to boil it down to sound bites, for the relational buyer, it's really about authenticity. Just be yourself. You don't have to manipulate them and do this or that to like a trick to get them to like you. Just be your authentic, true self. Talk the way you talk. If you have a little 1-minute video on there, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm the owner, and this is why I went and got in business, and this is what I like to do, and give me a call sometime, and we can talk about your yard. I can really help you. Something like that. But just be authentic. And you'll attract, if you're trying to be yourself and project your company as it honestly is and looks, you will attract the people that will resonate with who you really are. And those are the customers you want anyway. In terms of the transactional buyer, it's all about, I would say the soundbite there is credibility. It's not about feel good. It is some, but it's more about credibility than feel good, like it is for the relational buyer. And credibility symbols play a really big role on a website. If you take credit cards like Visa, MasterCard, put those symbols on there. If you are using certain kinds of equipment, I know you do because you have lots of national sponsors that have the top flight equipment, and they always want you to use it, and you do use it. And you put that on your website too, because it's like credibility through third-party validation or association. You put down the company logos of some of the equipment that you use, that you rely on. Mm-hmm. You're not using fly-by-night equipment. You're using this particular brand equipment, and you're proud of it. And you put those. You could put them on the banner on the bottom or somewhere on the side. Your web designer will tell you where to put them. Yeah. But other companies that they're familiar with that have credibility, they'll subconsciously associate that with your company if you have those credibility symbols or logos on your website as well. Have you seen that? Oh, another thing too, Paul, is testimonials. Another great way, and we've talked about that before. Make sure you have testimonials for that transactional buyer. They're looking for credibility, whereas the relational buyer, he's looking for feeling good and having a sense that he could have a relationship with the service provider. So that's how I would describe it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, Echo sent me a magnet. I gave it to some of my friends. It says "Powered by Echo," and so whether you use Echo or you use Stihl, they're kind of the two of the most reputable power equipment companies, or Red Max, whatever one you go with for your business. And I think it's most important to determine what dealer and repair shop and things of that nature is closest to where your business is. Because people ask me all the time, Dr. Frank, what's better, Red Max, Stihl, or Echo? And my answer really is, well, what's closest to you? Is it a Stihl dealer? Is it an Echo dealer? Is it a Red Max dealer? Well, because if something breaks down, you got to go get a part. Doesn't matter really which one's better, which one's more convenient for you to run your business. But anyway, no matter which one you use, I think if that's on your website, powered by Stihl or powered by Echo or powered by Red Max, and you literally write, we use top of the line commercial equipment, because I just saw a guy right in downtown. There's a little hole in the wall Mexican restaurant. I was sitting at the intersection there, and I look over, and this guy, has this old F-150, and you could tell he has like homeowner equipment in there. And I love the hustle. He's a weekend warrior. He's getting after it, and I love it. I mean, I was like smiling at him, waving, and he was looking at me like, "Why are you looking at me, dude?" But I was like trying to communicate. I get it, man. Those are my humble beginnings. But customers, they don't want that. They don't want someone showing up with raggedy equipment and looking all duct taped together. But if you show up and you have commercial top of the line equipment, then they know the job's going to be done right.
And you could put those logos and brand names on your website, indicating
powered by Echo or whatever it is, and powered by TORO, or we use TORO mowers or Exmark mowers or whatever it is. I think that's important. And then I want to piggyback off of what you said about testimonials. I think that's absolutely so important, is that we have those testimonies. Hopefully, if you have route density and you work in a neighborhood, maybe you can even put on your website, you can put, Mrs. Smith, and put the name of the neighborhood that you live in, just so they can see it. Oh, you know what? I think I actually know her, and just do whatever you can to build credibility with social proof.
Yeah, that third-party validation is really important. There's another thing too to be effective on your website. And this is something is often overlooked by business owners with their website. And that is, you're also not only going to have two kinds of buyers, you're going to have two kinds of readers on your website. You're going to have the kind of reader that is never going to read all the words that you put on there. They're just going to skim it, and they just want the bottom line. And then there's the other reader who will read every single word, that very detailed oriented person. And if you had written more than you put on your website, they'd read that too if it was on there. And you really need to fashion the content on your website for both of those readers. How do you do that? With the skim reader, you want to underline the main words, usually verbs, that are in the sentences that are key, so that if they take their finger and they go down the page on the website and they're only looking at what's underlined here and there, they can get the gist of exactly what you're saying without reading all the sentences completely. They're just skimming it. And you break up your content with headings or headlines and subheadings. And on several paragraphs, if it's a key idea, you put a title or a subheading at the beginning of those paragraphs. Then you go to another idea, you put another subheading in bold. It doesn't have to be very large. It just needs to stand out like bold for the next group of paragraphs that are fostering another idea. And then within the paragraphs, you underline the keywords in the sentences. So they could just read headings, subheadings, and underline words, be done in a tenth of the time it takes to read everything and get the total gist of it. If you don't do that for those readers, they're going to get frustrated and they're going to move on. They're not going to wrestle through.
I'm a skimmer, Dr. Frank.
Yeah, well then, okay. And I'm a detailed guy. I'll read it.
I would have figured that one.
And you know, the thing is too, these detailed people, if they're really interested in the topic that you're all about, your company's all about, they will read everything. And they wish you had written more so they could learn even more. And so you also want to have well-structured sentences with good spelling that have really good, complete ideas, for that detailed person. And that person will appreciate that as well. So you are trying to sell to two types of buyers, and you're trying to write content for two kinds of readers. And you'd be surprised how many websites, they're just not aware of that. And they're probably only less than half effective than they could be otherwise.
Wow.
Now, so those are some tips. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is a really interesting subject because there's been so much research done on this, and that is how do you become persuasive? And this applies to your website. This applies to business meetings where in your conference room you have to give a presentation, or you have to get up on a microphone before an audience and share your ideas. Say you're the member of the Kiwanis Club and you have to give a speech. I don't care what the communication is, or you're trying to ask a girl out on a date, or whatever. We want to be persuasive because when we talk, we're sharing ideas and we work to get our ideas. We think through things. We experience life and we think about that. And over time, we formulate ideas. And some of those ideas came the hard way, where we had to really pay a price to come to these excellent conclusions that are our ideas that we like to share with people. And so we should be persuasive so that our ideas can be received better than otherwise. And those key elements for persuasion, there's a little bit more than a handful of them. One of them is the social proof that we talked about. If you can introduce on your website, which is the way we're talking about communicating to the public right now, if you can have that social proof like we talked about with the testimonials, or the social proof where you have credibility symbols that you use MasterCard and Visa and you have their symbol, or you powered by the different equipment companies for your lawn equipment, that's social proof. If other people found that your company was worthy, you're a lot more believable and you'll be a lot more persuasive. The other thing is you want to have authority. And a great way to project authority where you will be more persuasive is you're not trying to be all things to all people. you are good at a few things. And most companies are like that. These very large companies can do more things, but we're talking about a lot of small to medium-sized companies here that you just can't be all things to all people, and you shouldn't try to be. You have more authority if you say, well, we do all these things, but this is what we really specialize in, and we've been doing this the longest, and we're known for this. That's also a key idea to put on your website so that you can show that you specialize in certain things more than others, and that also differentiates you from some of your competition. But it does give you authority because you're putting more weight in a specialization. That might be very important to a potential customer. Another thing is the concept of reciprocity. That's where you give something, and subconsciously, usually people are not aware of it, they want to give back in some way. What you can give on your website is a lot of really good information, or have frequently asked questions with answers where they go to the page and they see the different kinds of questions that you get 100 times a week. And then you put it on your website because you know that's the kinds of questions they have about their yard or about the service you're providing. And it's just good information. If you're giving a lot that's relevant to them, they will often subconsciously want to give back and say, well, I got to give these people a call. Even sometimes you might even get a call and say, well, I already got a good provider. Don't really want to switch, but I came across your website and I just wanted to compliment you on that. You look like you're a really good company. I've had people do that with me. You know, they were just impressed and felt obligated to pass a compliment about my business, different businesses in the past. Just because I gave so much value for free. Or you could have a little tutorial, or get them to sign up for email where you send them every week or twice a week a little blurb in the email where you're teaching them something about their yard or landscaping, or how to pick a good service provider so that they don't get ripped off. You know, that kind of thing. If you give, you will find that your audience is more receptive because they want to give back in some way, and they know what you want. You're looking for a customer. Another one is consistency. If you are pushing the idea, let's say in your about page, that we're good at this and we're good at this other thing, and that's what we specialize in. We do these other things too, but people really love how we do this, and we feel we're like the best in the area at it. You should have consistency of that idea throughout your website, where you're showing pictures or having more information about those things that you're claiming. If you can show consistency, it just validates your main ideas. And let's see, the last one that I wanted to mention is the idea of scarcity. And that is also another way where you're pushing the idea, you need to call us. We're a good service provider. We're really your best choice. If you can introduce scarcity, that will motivate them. Scarcity is usually introduced by a company by saying, for a limited amount of time, we're offering this, either at a discount or we're doing something for free. And for a limited amount of time, if you call us, you can get that. Maybe it's a free estimate. I don't know. What kinds of free things have you seen, Paul, that service providers do?
Well, in core aeration season, you know, for a limited time, you can get on our schedule for core aeration, and once it's full because there's a window of time that you could do that. Same with seasonal flowers. It's a window of time that the biology favors, you know, an installation of this, that, or the other. I'm trying to think of others. What are some others that you've seen in other industries, Dr. Frank?
Well, you can also have a better guarantee for a limited amount of time, or a discount. If you call now and engage us this month, we'll do the first lawn application for free, or 50%
Now, I've
discount.
seen in January, a lot of companies will do, if you prepay for the year now, we'll give you a 5% discount or 10% discount.
That's a good one.
So that's definitely popular.
Yeah, some kind of thing that is going to motivate them to contact you and get on board as a customer, but it's not always available. It's only for a limited time. And for different service providers, that's going to be different things. The thing that costs absolutely nothing to provide is a special report. We put this special report together and we're making this available. Information is usually something that costs nothing to make available, and it might be considered valuable, but you always put a time limit on it. And that causes them. In fact, they actually did studies, Paul, and they found that a bigger motivator for people in general, just the way humans are made up in their mind and wired in their head, they found that a bigger motivator than the desire for gain is the fear of loss. And they call it, like in the buying stocks and in the financial markets, they call it FOMO, fear of missing out. It's the acronym, fear of missing out. So we're more motivated intrinsically by the fear of loss than we are motivated by the desire for gain. We all want to gain. We all want to do stuff that'll make our life better, but we're even more motivated by a fear of loss. Those are the other ideas you want to keep in your head when you're evaluating your website. Am I introducing these persuasion elements? Because they're totally backed by research. This isn't just a lot of interesting talk that somebody had a theory. This came out of a lot of empirical research where they distilled behaviors over and over again in different industries and why people buy and are motivated. And they distilled it down to these key elements.
Well, I appreciate it, Dr. Frank. This has been helpful as always. Is there anything we're leaving out here that needs addressed, or is it time to go take what you taught us and put it into action?
Well, I think that's enough to chew on for a while for most people. Just be thinking about those things. The more thought you give it, the better you're going to come up with ideas. And see, we can't do a cookie cutter here. That would make no sense, because every business owner is different. Every business is different. Every local area that a business owner operates in is different. You will know as a business owner how to take these ideas and make them work for you and your company and your area. No one can do that kind of thinking for you. But if we could point you in the right direction, give you the right principles, you'll figure it out.
Totally. And if you guys want to learn more about marketing with Dr. Frank, we actually did 9 video modules together that are half an hour each, where we go over the basics of a good marketing strategy. And you really, as we went through this, Dr. Frank, my mind was just expanding and just thinking like, wow, I never even thought about it like that, of how do we get customers, and then how do we actually keep those customers? And you really did a phenomenal job in our how to get and how to keep customers e-course. And so if you guys really want to step up your marketing game and take it to the next level and really have a good foundation, because that's the key. We've been talking a lot, Dr. Frank, this week on the show about the rising cost of fuel, the rising cost of equipment, if you can even get a hold of the equipment because of the supply chain issues. And we've been talking a lot about labor and just how difficult it is to get good labor. But if you do find someone good, you're going to have to pay them a lot of money. But the foundation to all of this to have lasting success is marketing, because if we have excellent marketing, we keep that pipeline full, we have opportunities for new customers out there, then we can kind of hedge ourselves a little bit against this volatility in the market right now. And so it's more important than ever that we're very on point with our marketing. And so you lay it out A to Z in the how to get and how to keep customers e-course, which is available at our resource center at thegreenindustrypodcast.com.
Paul, what I like about what we did is that it was like a conversation between the two of us. And I know the principles and the research and point in the right direction, but you bring it in for a landing, and everything we talk about in those modules about how you've seen it implemented in your own business and what has worked over the years, because you have such vast experience, and you brought it down to the practical level. I think it's a good mix between the two.
Totally. So you guys can enjoy this teaching on marketing at our resource center, thegreenindustrypodcast.com. It's called How to Get and How to Keep Customers. So Dr. Frank, I appreciate, as always, your time, and we look forward to having you back in the future on another episode of the Green Industry Podcast.
Thanks, Paul. Looking forward to it.